Yo.
Yo, what's up, man?
What up, dude?
Oh shit! I have my speakers on so loud.
There he
What
is.
up, dude? How we doing?
Yo, you're looking clean cut. I didn't know what to expect. I wasn't sure if we were getting the beard and the long hair or trim or what.
Dude, I might go green on you guys.
Yeah, you've reinvented yourself quite a few times.
Wait, hang the fuck on. How many fucking carats is that diamond in your ear right now?
This is not a diamond. This is a quartz.
Oh, yeah. You go that. Like, I don't do blood diamonds?
It's just a quartz. It costs like $10.
Fuck's up, man. How you been?
I'm chilling. How are you?
I'm great. I'm about to win the fucking EPL right now, and
Guy?
I don't want to do it this way.
It's this European soccer league that John is pretending to be a fan of.
Oh, why is he saying he's gonna win?
What are you talking about? Because I'm a Liverpool fan. I'm not pretending. By the way, I'm
Dude,
not pretending.
that means your team won. You didn't win.
Yeah, I know, Mike.
You saw how he phrased it, Kevin. He said, "I'm about to win, bro."
Listen, I'm with him too.
You are sitting on your butt talking to me, bro. You're not fucking. You didn't fucking.
I didn't do shit.
Any headers off a corner
I didn't
kick.
do shit. I didn't do anything, but I'm about to win, and I don't want to win it this way. I want Liverpool to win by like scoring goals, and we're not going to. We're about to win it by just fucking not losing games. It sucks. But how the fuck you been, man?
I'm good. Can't complain, man. Where are you guys at?
We're both in New York. He's in our office. I'm back up in my I'm at home in my apartment. I've been here for the last 3 months. So you got your whole pilgrimage, your whole trek in right before shit went down. What would have happened if would you have stayed out there walking if everything popped off?
I don't know. I definitely thought about that, man. It's just a lot to think about. I mean, I've been thinking about like if I did my walk across America, if I was black, I've been thinking about that too, because the police would get called on me pretty much. I won't say incessantly, but like probably 10, 15 times, to the point where like every time we get to a new county, we just start calling the police on ourselves to like let them know we're coming.
You think that would have happened?
Would you have done that? You think you would have like given a heads up?
No, I'm saying I already had to do that.
You did?
Being white, I did that because people are just like, who the fuck is this guy? Like we know everyone in this town. You know, who is this guy? Mm-hmm. So cops, I dealt a lot with the police. They come out and say, hey, what are you doing? And I tell them what I was doing, and they usually like take my ID and send me on my way. But like, you could just imagine being in fucking Western Kansas or real rural Ohio, and that situation not going that way if I had darker skin, man. So I've been thinking about that too. It's like,
dude, I always think about that.
I'm most well known for. Sorry, just butting that point up. But like one of the things I'm most well known for is my walk across America. And it's like, man, like if I was black, I did that, I might die. Mm-hmm. So I've been thinking about that too.
It is a tough one to like. The crazy thing is like, you think about it and you're like, that would be weird, but like that's exactly how it would go. Like you're right.
I guarantee it wouldn't have been like, hey, have a good day. I would have been fucking sitting there for a while. You know what I'm saying? At the very least,
it's hard to like, it's hard to put your mind in that like place because it's just something we don't deal with at all. But that's like, it would go that way. Like, it's crazy that it would go that way.
100%.
Were you always, like, I feel like when you first came out, do you remember, by the way, like working with Barstool back in the day?
Vaguely, like there's some show that went wrong or some shit. Something happened.
Yeah, when you first came out, when Cooler Than Me like first blew up, we were doing like a little like small time concert series, and you were one of the good ones. We worked with a few acts that like kind of it didn't work out, but everybody was happy with you and your performance. I guess it wasn't too memorable for you, but we all very fondly remember it because it was one of the first times we put a little bit of money in our pocket. But when you first, the Mullins Center, which is where's that Feits? Is that UMass? Yeah.
Yeah. I thought something went wrong or something. I thought you hated me or something.
It wasn't you. Chitty Bang did not go so well. There was one act that like didn't go on stage and demanded their money back and all that shit. And there was no problems there. So the show, it had some drama, but it was not Mike Posner related. We all very fondly remember that song and that moment because it was good for us. But when you first came out, and Cooler Than Me was like this like rap pop song, and I mean I remember being surprised when I learned how like introspective you were, and like, you know, something like doing this walk across the country. Like I don't think I saw that coming based on like what your original single was. Were you always the type, like, did you always kind of have this plan to do some like unique shit?
Well, I mean, to start off, it's tough when you're artists. I don't want to be complaining because I really got nothing to complain about. But you gotta understand, in my life, I've made thousands of songs. Most of the songs I keep on this computer I'm talking to you on because I don't think they don't meet my bar of excellence, you know, just to myself. Then, you know, but I have hundreds of songs that I've released. And for whatever reason in my life, I've had, I think, like 5 or 6 songs, some that are my own and some that I've written for other people. They just get really fucking popular. And I don't know why. I don't know which one it's going to be, whatever. But it's like this thing you just wrote one day, and that's how you're feeling. Not how you're feeling that whole day, is how you're feeling that moment. And sometimes it's not even how you're feeling. The thing just comes out. It almost feel like come through you, comes out. And so in my situation, you know, I have like, you know, 2 really popular songs that I've sung. Again, I've written some other ones for other artists. And they're just disproportionately popular to like my body of work. You know, so if you listen to like all my music, all my poetry, read my book of poetry, these kind of things, listen to my podcast, you know, like you have a better idea of who I am as a human. But like to just hear one song that I made, like, yeah, that's what I'm best known for. I understand. I'm not complaining at all. Like that song, like, you know, it's changed my life in a lot of ways. But it's just not like it doesn't cover the spectrum of who you are as a human being, you know.
Do you think your best songs have been your most popular songs?
I think my 2 most popular ones are Cooler Than Me and I Took a Pill in Ibiza.
Right.
Both those songs, when I wrote them, I was like, yeah, I'm really proud of this. You know, I have no idea they're gonna be popular or not, but so I think both those are good songs for sure.
Yeah.
There's some other ones I think maybe are a little better just from like a writer's perspective, you know.
Have you taken a pill in Ibiza?
Yeah, for sure. I try.
No,
yeah.
all right. So we were talking about this the other day on the episode where like I'm in New York right now, and like drug dealers have been walking by like outside bars, and they've been like, "Yo, who wants coke? Who wants whatever?" Would you buy a drug off like some random dude walking by an outside bar?
Well, I'm like pretty much I don't drink or.
All right, but you're sober now. But would you have
Back then?
Back then, shit, I don't know, man. I'm never like going too heavy with that stuff, but there's a whole story to that night. I was in Ibiza with Avicii, and you know, ended up making some kind of silly decisions. But
well, come on, go on.
I mean, it sounds just like the song. I mean, is it just the lyrics?
What kind of decisions were we making?
Basically, the decision was fucking be wasted and then take a pill from a stranger. You know, that's the decision I'm referring to.
Yeah, been there.
Did Avicii think you were cool?
I think so, man. Like the thing I loved about Tim was he actually like before I even I don't think I had a record deal or what, but like I was still in college, you know, right on the time you're talking about, we did that show. He somehow heard my stuff, and he was just like kind of bubbling up, and he sent me levels before it was out and was like, man, can you write to this? And I guess he just liked my stuff. And I wrote a few songs to levels. It was the track before it had the sample. So it didn't have, oh, sometimes I get a good feeling. It was just the music.
That was a flex. Fuck you, by the way, for that.
Fix that in there.
So I got it. So I just wrote a few songs to the track, and they actually kind of sucked. I didn't nail it. And so he ended up not using what I did, and he ended up using that sample instead. But we just kept in touch, man. And you know, it's crazy. Like with music, there's, at least in my experience, it's a lot of ups and downs. You know, like so with you know, kind of, I didn't answer the second half of your first question, Kev. Like, I kind of came out the gate and shit went like really well for me, you know. Like my first single was this song "Cooler to Me," and it was this big song over the world. I'm getting paid more money than I probably deserve. I'm taking my shirt off at shows, you know, like living a like
You ripping the shirt off?
Oh yeah, just I'm living like a
Mike! I love that. Were you in shape enough to be taking it off?
Fuck yeah, or else I wouldn't have took it off, man. I got a little self-awareness over here. Well, man,
No, there are plenty of people who take it off. They shouldn't be taking it off. Just, yeah.
Then you gotta just admire the courage then. But man, I was kind of just like living out, you know, I was in fraternity at Duke. I was living like a frat boy dream, you know. And what happened was, my songs that I put out after that kind of got progressively less popular to the point where I was what we call in the music industry shelved. So that means like I'm making a lot of new music at home and in the studios, but the record label's looking at it like, hey man, the last shit you put out didn't sell that good, so we're just not gonna put your music out because we can't justify paying the producers, paying the marketing costs, etc. We just don't think it's gonna return our investment. So you're basically caught in a holding pattern. And they own your music and you're stuck. So that's where I was, man. After I had this big hit, I'll basically like at home with nothing to do, calendar's empty.
How's that feel? Like,
I mean, at first it was horrible, like because my identity had gotten so wrapped up in being cool and being the popular guy, being that dude that once that got taken away, I didn't know who the fuck I was.
now, are you rich at this point?
Yeah, I had made money. And thankfully, like, I hadn't bought a bunch of Lamborghinis. You know, I'm not saying like I was like Drake, but for a 24-year-old guy, yeah, I had a lot of money for sure. And so I'm just sitting there. I have this money, and I go, "What the fuck do I do now?" You know, and I had to figure out who I was if I wasn't popular. Who I was if I wasn't the guy with the hit song, who I was if girls weren't chasing after me. And it's like the best thing ever happened to me. I decided, like, hey man, I'm not popular right now, but I still really love music. And I still really, you see my mic right here, like I make music the same way I did when I was 8. So I just doubled down. I started taking lessons on singing, and started taking lessons on guitar and piano. I didn't play any instruments, even though I already had a hit. So I just started learning how to be a real musician. And that's like, Kev, to answer the second part of your first question, that's when that growth, I think, and that a little more depth came into my life, to where I got to the point where I'm doing the things I'm working on now.
Do you think that's weird how, like, the idea of celebrity is like everyone feels the best when they're out of it?
You mean everyone feels the best when they're done with it? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Like once you're done, like you said you found yourself when you like weren't a celebrity anymore, or not anymore, but you know what I mean, right? Where it's like I didn't have that constant stream, and like I feel like every celebrity is like, that's when I fucking realized how life works.
You found yourself or learned.
Yeah, I think you just failure. Even you can zoom out a little bit. Just failure is really important, and you can really learn a lot about yourself in those times. And so it was really good for me. I became a deeper person for that, for sure. And then like the ironic thing is I wrote this song basically about that, about like being famous and then it not being famous. And that was what I Took a Pill in Ibiza was about. And then that ended up being a bigger song than Cooler. So that was kind of messed up.
Was a fucking smash, dude. That was a hit. That was like next level big type song, right?
Yeah, it was the original song is like an acoustic guitar song. You have one of these guys, these great guys in Norway. They did a remix of it.
So how does that work? Like, obviously it's still your song, but like their remix is what pops off, but it's still your music. Like that's still your money, your success, your everything.
Yeah, basically like my record label. I was like living in my van at the time just because I wanted to like do van life for a while. Before that was
You want to do van life?
before van life was a thing. I was living in my van.
That's some rich person shit. Like I want to live in not a house.
I want to live. I want to be homeless for a little bit.
It's some stupid shit white people do. That's what my friend He's like, what the fuck, man? And so yeah, they were like, hey, can we get a remix of this song? My A&R is Matt Duiardini, or then A&R is Matt Duiardini and Zeke Silvera. I was like, yeah, man, I don't care, because I came up doing a lot of remixes. When I was in college, I remixed like Adele songs and Beyonce songs, a lot of people's. So whenever somebody wants to remix mine, I don't care. And so basically, they take the acapella, the vocals I recorded for the first song, they get rid of all the music, and they sped it up, made it faster, and then they created all new music around it. And they did a really good job on it, man. It's like made this really cool, like brand kind of new song out of my song.
Yeah.
And the thing started to get popular in their country first, like in Norway. And it just spread from there, man. It just spread from there.
And when did you decide to start this trek across the country?
Well, that was something I was thinking about for many years. I actually heard somebody mention it for like 5 years ago. And right when I heard it, I went, you can do that? I didn't know you could do that. And they're like, yeah, my friend did it. I was like, whoa. I just knew I definitely wanted to do it. And it just called to me right away. I didn't really have to think about it. But what happened was, Kev, I just put on the back burner. You know how life just keep coming at you. And I was basically like following this plan of like an artist, what I'm supposed to do. So I make an album, then I go on tour, then I come back, make another album, then I go on tour, then I make another album. You get the idea. Mm-hmm. And so every year something would come up, and a walk across America strategically, it should start in the like early or late winter, early spring. You walk through, because you can do it in 6 to 8 months. So the idea is you do it not in winter. So you start right when winter ends, and you hopefully end before winter begins again. And so it was like every spring, something would get in the way, and I kept putting it off. And really what happened was, man, was my dad died. And then a little bit later, Avicii died. And I just realized, I'm going to die one day too. Hopefully not anytime soon, but you never know. And I'm only getting older. I was 31 at the time, 32 now. And I just realized, if this is something that I want to happen in my life, I want to be part of my life story, I'm gonna have to do it now, or I'm just never gonna fucking do it. And I just decided, man, like I got so sick of watching podcasts and watching documentaries and being inspired and not being inspiring. I got so sick of that, just sitting there hearing about these great stories and then not doing anything. And so I just wanted to be, people ask, why'd you do your walk? I just wanted to be proud of myself. If somebody said, who's your hero, who inspires you? I want to be able to look them in the eye and say me, And so I'm basically kind of trying to live out my own hero's journey.
What's that feel like to be proud of yourself?
It's great, and it moves. It's a target that moves. It's a funny thing that happens. You put yourself in kind of, and I'm sure you've experienced this in your own way. No, here, just let me finish my point. You know what I'm talking about. So you put yourself in a certain type of community. Like you make a decision, like I'm gonna walk across America. Well, just by making that decision, there's a new community around you. So by me making that decision, I ended up meeting like probably 8 people that were either walking or running across America at the same time I was. Yeah. And pretty much all of them were harder than me. Pretty much every single one. They were doing it faster than me. They were doing it with less support than me. They were doing it with less fanfare than me. they were all better than me, basically. So what I meant was, you have this successful podcast now, so you're in a different community, even in the Barstool community of super big pod. You know what I'm saying? So you start getting around different people, so you get inspired in different ways.
Dude, see that? Like, I love meeting new people, but I'm always scared to do something like that. Like that terrifies me because I know I'd want to quit. When did you want to quit?
Well,
like you wanted to quit. When was the first time you wanted to quit?
Well, it's a great question, man, and you alluded to fear. Fear's a big part of this. I don't want anybody to listen to this and just think, I decided to walk across America one day and just did it. I was super scared, man. I was super scared before I started. I told everyone to do this thing, and I didn't know if I could do it. I didn't know if I'd make it to there. So I never done anything like that before. And it's no way you could really practice. I mean, you could go walk around.
You walked before, though.
You could go walk around. You can go walk around LA, but it's not good. You know what I'm saying? So the only way you really find out if you can do it is to try. So I was scared, man. And the beginning was kind of easy because I was easing into it. Like the first day, I think I only walked 8 miles. But you start doing the math and you're looking at like, fuck, man. If I go that slow, I'm going to be in the Rocky Mountains in the middle of winter, this is where I don't want to be. So I thought I was going to have like more of a hippy dippy, like real loose. I meet some cool people. I kick it with them for a week, but it ended up being the opposite. It was an exercise in discipline for me. You just had to show up. It's raining, great, show up. You're tired, great, show up, walk. Your fucking feet hurt, you could barely stand up, great, show up, walk. To answer your question, man,
show up, walk.
Yeah. The
fact that you went back after the rattlesnake is crazy. I feel like if you would have bowed out then and been like, listen, I tried, I had to relearn how to walk, it is what it is. But you went back out there like a goddamn lunatic.
Well, here's the thing, man. So I didn't really answer. The first time I really wanted to quit, John, was, let me rephrase that. I never wanted to quit, but I thought I wasn't going to make it, was when I reached Kansas. So I started in New Jersey, and basically,
dude, that's so far. That's so far.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know. At that point, maybe but it's not halfway. It's like 1,000 miles plus. But
no, it doesn't matter if it's halfway. That's so far.
It's just, let me try to break down the psychology. To break down the psychology of this, man. So I was cruising across the Midwest. Those states are smaller. Like Indiana, I think is like 108 miles wide or something. Like, so I crossed that in like 8 days. Yeah. I crossed Indiana, fucking feel and it's June. I never knew the difference between June and July before. It was all summer to me, but July is way fucking hotter than June. So June, I crushed like Ohio, Indiana, Illinois, like pretty fast. And I got to Missouri. So across the Missouri River near St. Louis, walk through the suburbs of St. Louis, and then I get on what's called the Katy Trail. And at the time,
St. Louis is a wild spot, huh?
Yeah, I wasn't really in St. Louis. I walked kind of in the suburbs of it, and it was. You look back on the time, the Missouri and I think the Mississippi River both were just flooded to all hell.
Yeah.
So, I don't want to. Let's put it in perspective. Like, it's people losing their homes, shit like that. So let's put my story in perspective. Like, but I'm supposed to be walking on this trail called the Katy Trail. It used to be a railroad, and it runs next to the Missouri River. And that shit, like, man, I'm just going, and then like I'm up to like my ankles in water, and then I'm like, all right, well, maybe just be like this for a little bit. Then I'm up to like my knees in water. I'm up to like my fucking hips in water. I'm like, I gotta get off this fucking trail, man.
Why didn't you walk somewhere else, dude?
But that's the thing, is like making a small adjustment. It's not like your car where it's like 10 extra minutes. Is like you're going. So what I end up having to do, like, I have full days where I'm walking the wrong direction.
Hang on, you could have walked on the side, no?
Dude, it's not like that. Like,
yeah.
It's just flooded. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're supposed to make this turn, and there's no road there. It's a lake, like a full lake, and sometimes the water's running. It's dangerous. Like,
so you just walk through a lake.
Like, there's trees and shit going by, bro. Like, in the water, like. You know what I mean?
When you're doing this, are you like,
you can't cross? So
with you for a little while, like, do you have people with you in case some shit really goes wrong, or are you like on your own?
I walked supported. is really important. And I always say that I respect for these other hard motherfuckers, men and women who just walk with a backpack or a cart. So the way I did it was, I had a buddy and we had an RV. It would go ahead of me each day. And basically I'd be by myself when I walk, and then I'd catch up to it. And then the guy would like get food, and usually we'd sleep in that unless like I was in the mountains or the desert, and I sleep in the tent because the RV can't drive there. But basically, so I'm in Missouri. Missouri is just a shit show, man. It starts getting hot, and it's like a heat advisory, 100% humidity, all this shit, man. It was really hard. And I kept telling myself, like, just make it to Kansas. I kept saying that to myself, like, just make it to Kansas. And so what happened was eventually I did make it to Kansas. It took about 3 weeks to cross Missouri for me. And when I made it to Kansas,
so much time.
When I made it to Kansas, it was this beautiful moment, as you imagine. Like, I started crying like I fucking made it to Kansas. No one knows how hard that was, etc. And I went to bed that night. It was the end of my day right across the border. And I felt very accomplished. But what happened? The next morning, my alarm goes off 4 a.m., just like every other day. And I had to walk again. And what I realized was I had created this sort of false finish line in my head, which was Kansas. My goal wasn't to make it to Kansas, it was to make it to Pacific Ocean. And when I got walked that next day, it was like, man, I just had nothing left. It was like my body was fucked up. Like it just felt horrible, man. Like I just like could barely make it. Like I woke up in the morning, I could like barely stand up, man. Like my body hurt so bad. And my mind just started running with that, you know? So it's like, you have this horrible sensation, pain in your body. And my mind started going, bro, you're not even halfway. You're fucked. You told everyone you're going to do it and you're fucked. Like if you're this bad now and you're not even halfway, what makes you think you'll ever feel better than this? You know what I'm saying? Like it's just, you just have to walk more miles. That's what my brain was doing. And so I remember that day was the hardest day. Like I didn't want to quit, but I felt like I wasn't going to make it. But what I had to do was separate reality from my story about reality. It was two different things. So reality, my body hurt, there was pain, it was hot, etc. That's facts. That's what's really happening. But my story was, hey, this means you're not going to make it. I was taking reality, making a mental story about it. So I had to separate those two. I took a day off and I just rested, try to recover, and then do one more day and get rid of this story. And so that's what I did. Eventually kind of bounce back and then you just try to build on your past successes. So I always count how many miles I went. Like first time I went 100 miles, like 100 miles. It's less than 1% of the journey. It was 100 miles, you know? And so you just try to keep building like that.
Yo, I got a question, and it's a random question. I just thought of it right now. Why are your fingernails on your right hand long and your left?
Yeah, it's a question I get a lot. So it's for the guitar. So basically, when I hold the guitar like now, you know, this hand, you have to hold the strings down. So these nails need to be short. And then this hand, you know,
yeah, those are some claws, bro.
Yeah.
So when you
don't need it to play guitar, but it's a certain type of sound you get when you have nails. So.
Yeah, that's what my girlfriend says too.
When you got bit by that rattlesnake, I remember on this show we joked that you should have had to start back from the very beginning. You drove back to the point that you got bit by the rattlesnake.
Yeah.
You were like, nah, you're cheating. If you had to start all the way over again, would you have been done?
If that's the commitment I made before I started, I would have honored that. That's the whole thing. You know, there's no rules to something like this.
Right.
So it's not like playing soccer or basketball. You know, NBA sets the rules. With this, like I already alluded to, there's a lot of people that did it in a harder way. Like it's people running. I mean, I met some of them. They're amazing, bro. They're running 40 miles a day with a big backpack.
How do you meet them, by the way? Like do you see them? Or like,
a lot of times, because you know, from who I was, you know, just being a musician before, I got a fair amount of press from doing it. So a lot of them just reach out to me, you know, on Instagram and stuff. And so, yeah, it's one guy, like 2 days before I got bit by a snake, it's one guy, Stevie, he was running the opposite way. And we spent a day together. I mean, that guy was amazing. He did it way faster than me with no support. So here's the thing, man, to answer your question, Kev, is like, I think you set the rules for yourself when you start. You know, mine was, I'm gonna walk supported. I'm not gonna skip no fucking steps, right? There's one line that goes across. You know, sometimes at night, where I stopped walking would not be, I couldn't sleep there. So a lot of times, and this was cool with me, a lot of times I would go to that spot, I touch a sign with my pole, then I drive the RV to that sign again, I keep going. That was my rules for me, you know. So as long as I had integrity with myself, it was one fucking day we went to bed and we moved the RV like 10 feet. We were blocking this shit and I forgot in the morning. I just walked. I missed like 10 steps. So I walked that day and I was like, man, we got to fucking go back, get those 10 steps.
Yeah.
Can you imagine just knowing that? Like I skipped those 10 steps, you know? So I think like, I don't know, like if so I was already like, you know, getting in cars a lot, you know, to go sleep somewhere and come back. So to me, to go to the hospital, I had to go home to rehab. I didn't look at that as like a breach in integrity for myself. And that's all that mattered to me. You know, it's like other people, they ride a bike, you know, that's cool. They say, I'm going to ride a bike and they fucking do what they say. I think as long as you do what you said, then that's great, you know.
I don't think I realized how bad the snake bite was. Like you had to like relearn how to walk, huh?
I didn't realize it either, man, because this is why. They have a medicine it's called anti-venom. So when I hear that word anti-venom, I think you get it and you're all better.
Yeah.
That's what I thought, man. I thought I was going to go to the hospital, get the anti-venom, and I thought I'd just go the next day, keep walking. So they were like, first off, I'm fucking, the snake bites me, man. And I'm sitting on the side road in the middle of nowhere in eastern Colorado, flat part of Colorado. I'm 30 miles from La Junta and like 60 miles, I think, from, I forgot that town's, I can't remember the next town's name, but 60 miles from the next town on Colorado 10. And it's like, man, we didn't have service. So the one guy ran up, he like was able to call 911. Like he got like a bar, and then
Jesus.
And it doesn't really hurt that bad at first. So I'm like fucking around trying to like keep the mood light. And then about 10 minutes later, the venom starts going through you. And it's like, remember the Looney Tunes at the end where the thing goes, that's all, folks. That's exactly how it felt. Like my consciousness was just getting darker. This was my real sensation. It was just getting darker, 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 closing in like that. And I would like kind of wake up like, fuck. And I realized like, man, this is no joke. And so we're talking to 911 lady. I was like, she said, hey, you know, I sent an ambulance from one town, ambulance from the other, and a helicopter, whatever gets there first, get in it. And by the time I had felt that sensation a few times, I asked her, you know, like, am I going to die? And she said, I don't know, sir. I can't tell you that.
She didn't even lie to you?
Yeah, a lot.
And then I looked it up later. In the U.S., almost nobody dies from snake bites, but like, you have to get that medicine though. Like if you don't get the medicine, you die 100%.
So like if that dude didn't get that bar of service, you're done.
Well, yeah. I walked with and I'd still climb mountains with. Now I have a Garmin InReach, which is like a satellite thing that I guess you can hit a SOS button. Thankfully, I've never had to. But anyways, they got me to the hospital, and they told me very quickly, like, you're gonna be here for a while. You know, people lose their legs from this. It doesn't look like you're gonna lose your leg. Like, you look good, but we gotta make sure. And yeah, man, I went from like walking at that time. I was walking 24 miles a day, and I couldn't walk to the bathroom. My legs swelled up like this big, and you know, at the time they were saying like a couple of doctors like you take like 6 months for you to recover, or 8 months, and so I didn't know. You know, I think it does. You know, if you're older, you're not in good shape, I think it could take that long. But I was able to recover. It took me about 3 weeks to where I was able to go back to that spot where I got the bite. And then I had about 1,000 more miles to go. And you know, that's the best part of the snake bite. So people always want to talk about the snake bite story because it's like, I got hurt, you know, but the main point of that is that you know, finish what you started, you know. So
what's next for you?
Did it.
You're doing Everest next, right?
Definitely got some mountains. That's what I'm focusing now, mountaineering. So that's what I've been working on.
I've seen the movie Everest. I wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
Like you already got like a big ass accomplishment. Just fucking like stay in the studio and hang out, man. Relax for a little bit. Jesus.
Yeah, I feel you. So I mean, I have like a kind of a long. I think it's actually on my website too. There's like a lot of things I want to do in my life, and most of them are, either spiritual or artistic or intellectual pursuits, things I want to study. And then there's a few athletic ones. One was the walk across America. So, just strategically, I kind of want to knock out the athletic ones now. Like I said, I'm only getting older. I'm in my 32 now, only getting older, bro.
All right, yeah. So you're a little bit older than me. You're 32. I'm 31. I'm gonna do all that shit by the time I turn 32.
Cool.
I'm gonna have a couple hit records.
Bro, you the way you could just watch me the way you watch fucking Liverpool, man. You get it.
Yo, we won the league, baby.
Congratulations, Sean. How does it feel?
You got any music coming out or what? What's the latest with that? Are you doing music while you do these things, or do you put music on hold?
Yeah, I mean, actually, the year that I walked across America last year, 2019, I actually released 2 albums. So it was a really productive year. And in the quarantine, yeah, I've made a lot of music. But basically, I've kind of like created my own lifestyle. Most artists, they tour really heavy. I never made a ton of money from touring as it was. I made more money from writing. My songs, and then also songs for other artists, write songs for Justin Bieber, Maroon 5.
Is that hard? Is that hard to like be like, yo, I wrote this song and like it becomes a massive song and with, a Bieber of sorts. Does that hurt? Like, are you like, fuck, that's my song, dude? Or are you proud?
No. Like I said earlier, us writers, like real writers, we've written thousands of songs in our lives, and me, like, I can write anywhere in a year. I can write anywhere from like 50 to 100 songs, and I don't even do an album every year. Usually I do an album like in a year, but it's gonna be 10 songs on that album.
Right.
So it's just a lot of songs that I'm not putting out, I'm not using. So if they make sense for other people, and usually I write the thing for myself, and then I'll play it for other people, and then they'll kind of change it a little bit to make it their own. And so I think it's really cool, when those things come out and when they're popular. Same thing, like you never know which one's gonna be. I've written a lot more songs that aren't popular, but it's cool.
Well, man, it's a fascinating story you've got. I feel like there's a lot more ahead of you too. You're a young dude. I can't imagine what it's going to be like when Mike Posner's like 71, not 31. I'd imagine the list of accomplishments is going to be fucking crazy, man.
I have a couple stories. I have to do part 2 in
yeah, for sure, man.
40 years. Put it on the books, fucking 2060.
It's an interesting story, man. And keep making that music. Stay out there, go on your grind, and stay safe, dude. Don't get bit by anything. Don't fall off a mountain. Just stay alive, okay?
You got it, man. You guys have it going. I appreciate you having me on, and it was just fun speaking with you. So have a good one.
No doubt.
Thank you so much, brother. You too, bud.
All right, peace.